Today I'm standing in a technology hub, not the glittery landscape of Silicon Roundabout, but an innovative hub of its own kind. With me now is Hannah Donovan, digital product designer as well as entrepreneur. Hannah, tell me, how did you end up here in Hagerstown?
We're originally incubated by a Boston-based company called the Echo Nest, and we had a studio over on the Silicon Roundabout in Old Street. And after we went independent from them towards the end of last summer, we then sort of started to think about our options for our space, and in January we decided to move here.
Tell me more about the evolution of the Silicon Roundabout community.
I think if I really had to pinpoint something, I mean, there's many things going on over there. There's a lot of new builds, there's a lot of money being poured into the area, the rents are getting raised, the vibe has really changed. It's just gone from being an area that's been a little bit more diverse, where you had not only tech companies but also artists and musicians and designers and all sorts of different types of people there, to a slightly more really tech-focused crowd that just tends to be more of the same kind of person. And that was just something that didn't really appeal to us so much anymore, especially being a music startup and, that being a really, music and all the things that come with it, fashion, street culture, all that stuff being really important to what we do and what we thrive on.
But isn't gentrification a slow evolution in any city?
Sure, absolutely. And I'm not hating on gentrification here. That's, change is inevitable and change is good. I'm just pointing out that the change that has happened in this particular case, I think maybe isn't necessarily something that is as fertile of a place for us to be working anymore. In a more hard cost kind of way, rent was also an issue too. And so by moving to Hagerstown, we were able to be, just far enough away that it's like, that it's outside of that zone, and we were able to cut our rent in half, which is really significant to a small company.
Tell me more about the slow migration of entrepreneurs out of Silicon Roundabout.
The thing is that there's no one place that everybody is scattering to right now, and I think that's a really important point to make. That it doesn't feel like there's a scene, so to speak, like it really did feel like when I, came here in 2006.
Why do you think the government is promoting Silicon Roundabout so much?
Oh yes, I think it's definitely profit-driven, for sure. It's all about the economy, especially like down the road, looking at the longevity of industries in the UK that are going to support the economy in the coming decades. I think that it's absolutely about that. There's no doubt that there's a lot of talent here for that, and we were demonstrating that early on, way before this initiative started, and there's tons of great stuff coming out of the UK, so it makes perfect sense that they would look to it as sort of one of the next things for the economy. I mean, I think it just makes a lot of sense.
If Silicon Roundabout isn't helping entrepreneurs, who is profiting from this model?
The same people that profit from it in any place, really, the people that put the money in originally. That's how it works. I mean, sure, starting your own company, there's a small chance that as a founder or something, you might be able to make a nice exit, but I want to stress that that's not the majority of people. That's sort of a 1 in a million chance.
Let's look at one of the prominent features of Silicon Roundabout, which is kind of the Google campus model, or incubators in general, where you rent space to discuss ideas. Do you think entrepreneurs are at any sort of competitive edge by being there, or are they simply commodifying the creative experience?
Yeah, it's a bit of both, really. I mean, on one hand, it's great to be able to, brush shoulders with people that you might not otherwise get to do, and it's also great that they offer space that people can hot desk in, because as I mentioned earlier, leases are kind of a big thing to get locked into early on. However, I think on the other hand, it does sort of attract a certain type of individual, and being in those spaces, you do sort of, it's a bit of the same sometimes, I guess is how I would cautiously put it. And there's maybe a little bit less of the sort of diversity that we were seeing previously.
Now, in an effort to quantify the successes of startups, Number 10 issued a statement that Tech City UK has grown from 15 tech companies in 2008 to topping the chart for new business generation in the UK in 2013 with more than 15,000 new startups. Do you think these numbers are in any way misleading?
I feel like I'm pretty embedded in the community, and I have a good sense of what is going on. It does sound a little bit on the inflated side to me, and I just wonder if they're counting also all of the companies that don't still exist since then, or what is actually what the quantifier for being a tech startup is. Like, is it just a small business that has a website, or is it, you know, a company that's actively making their money from technology? Because those are two pretty different things.
Now, if you think entrepreneurs don't need the glittery landscape of Silicon Roundabout, what do they really need in terms of government support?
I would have loved to see more multidisciplinary co-working space. I would have loved to see, you know, some rents that were more affordable. I think that's incredibly important. I don't know why that hasn't been more supported. Some of the, you know, the pubs and the places that we would hang out and talk about our ideas and trade thoughts, where I think the innovation really happened. A lot of them have been upscaled or shut down. You know, I don't think that anyone would necessarily see this as something really important, but stuff like that, those sort of community infrastructure pieces, were actually really important to what we were doing. So it's more that side of things, you know, for me anyway.
Is it even possible to say where or if there will at all be a next great tech hub?
I would say it's impossible to say so right now. I would love to hope that that will happen and that we'll see that come out of London eventually, but it's really hard to say. And if, you know, rents keep going in the direction that they do, and, you know, if we are forced to move out of here in a year's time or 2 years' time, then that sort of like continual migration and lack of a place where people can congregate to make things, you know, could make it really hard, I think, for people to do the type of work that we do in London.
You're a few years into building your business here. Is London still the right city for you?
At the moment, I would say yes, just because London is a really great city for music. And I do firmly believe that London is a place where music revolutions have always happened and will continue to happen. And so at the moment, I'm still, you know, I'm still rooting for it.